Hello, my friends. This is part two, and probably will be a two-part series on Horary Astrology, new ideas in Horary Astrology using cosmic cybernetics. And at the end of the first video in the series, and you don't need to go back to it, because in that first video in the series, I covered a lot of the concepts, background information, really important things, but now we're going to focus on the details of the actual interpretation. And at the end of that first video, I mentioned that there are 5 charts that we interpret. Actually more than 5, but 5 essential ones. The natal, or 5 that we always interpret. The birth chart, the natal, the 8 vibe, the 64 vibe, the 256 vibe, and the 1024 vibe. And what I started to say is the natal chart tells you what's happening right now. What's the situation? What are we really doing here? The 8 vibe tells you where you're headed, what you're about to experience. And that really is the key, because the person's asking a question about where things are headed. And the 8 vibe tells you where it's headed. It tells you the action. So I gave the example at the end of the video, the first video in this series, that the natal chart would be like seeing a car going very fast, and the 8 vibe is showing you what the consequence of that is. Maybe right down the street there's ice on the road, and the car has a good probability that it will get into an accident, it'll slip on the ice, something like that. Or maybe it's clear sailing and you get to your destination even faster. The 8 vibe tells you where you're headed, because it knows all the context of everything that it's interacting with. And the 64 vibe shows you the motivation. Why are you driving fast? Maybe you're in a rush to bring somebody to the hospital. Maybe you're just driving wild because you're in a wild mood. It tells you the motivation. And the 256 and 1024 tell you the underlying needs. 64 is the immediate motivation. Why are you driving fast? But 256 and 1024, they're telling you how the person is built. What's the real deal to be in this situation at all? And these are the action vibrations, the octave vibrations. Basically what happens is you get up to 8 vibe, that's the action, and then we're going up 8, next octave we double is 16, 2 octaves, 3 octaves higher, we're up to 64 vibe. And then we go up 2 more octaves to 256 and 2 more octaves to 1024. By octaves, I mean we double it twice. 64 times 2 is 128, and then 256. And these get to the, change the level or layer of what action we're talking about, what dynamic we're talking about. And when we do the natal chart, it will sometimes indicate other charts. Okay, let's interpret. I already covered that. All right, so here's the chart. Here is the chart. Will the payment be made by tomorrow? I gave the date, time, and place in the first video. And I've already explained at the end of the first video that it's anything happening within 1 minute to about 15 minutes. So for example, let's take Jupiter trine Mercury. So Jupiter's at 5 Taurus 49, Mercury's at 4 Capricorn 50. So that is an orb of 1 degree, about a degree. Well, Mercury moves, and Mercury happens to be retrograde, but Mercury at its fastest moving about 2 degrees a day. It's going to be a number of hours, many hours before this happens. If it occurs within about 2 hours, it's still relevant. Within about 15 minutes, oh my God. If it's within like 15 minutes, that's critically important. If it's within 4 to 5 minutes, super important. If it's only lasting seconds, it's going by too fast. We want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, the most powerful, up to 15 minutes, very conspicuous, up to about 2 hours, it's relevant. You get out to 6 hours, it's not that relevant because you're asking a question. It's like when you do any kind of divination, like you throw tarot cards or you pick a lottery number, any kind of random guessing. It's that instant. It's what's happening. So horary is very different from other things. We're looking at the things that are really tight. And what you can do is you can go to the time adjust. And, well, Mercury's retrograde. Let's say I go 1 day earlier. And that would put Mercury up around 5 Capricorn. If I go a day earlier, it's about exact, 1 day earlier. So it took about 24 hours for this to be exact. It was in the past. 1 day earlier, roughly, a day earlier. So you can use the time adjust and get an idea of how long it takes. Well, if it's a day earlier, it's not really relevant. So believe it or not, I don't really care about the Mercury trine Jupiter. You may think, oh my God, you're crazy. Mercury's trine Jupiter, you don't care? Right, I don't care. Because this is horary, and I'm interested in what's going on right at that moment. These are still speculative ideas based on doing dozens and dozens and dozens of these charts and thinking about it, analyzing, seeing when the answer was wrong, when it was right, and trying to apply some kind of develop a reasonable system that we can apply to this. Okay, so that's what we can do. If we look at this sesquiquadrat of Mercury to Uranus, there's a trick for sesquiquadrats if you're a vibrational astrologer or even in cosmobiology. You can add 15 to one of them. You get 1950. You can see this line is very thick with a large glyph, although this one is too, and it took a day earlier. But if we add 15 to 4, we get 1950. It's only a 7-minute orb. If I go back an hour, so we'll go back 1 hour, and Mercury now is 4:52. It's exact. Oh no, it's still not quite there. I'll go back another hour, and we'll go back. Okay, it's taking a long time. Oh, I think I'm going the wrong way. Let me stop. Let me think about this. Mercury's retrograde. Let me go forward. If I go forward 1 hour and a second hour, so 2 hours later, it's basically exact. 3 hours later, the Mercury is now past Uranus. It's 41 minutes. It's past it. So it's within about 3 hours. So the Mercury-Uranus is weak. Weak. You get the idea. We're looking for things that are nearly exact, right, happening at that time. That means we want any aspect that's got almost no orb at all, and we want the house cusps. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what's going on with the house cusps, and what we're interested in, this is the big thing, are midpoint structures as well as aspects. Now, by the way, the moon Neptune is almost exact. And if I go forward 1 hour, before I get into the house cusps, I do see an aspect here. I go 1 hour forward, and the moon passed Neptune. The moon conjunct Neptune is there. So I see one aspect that's right in there, moon Neptune. Okay, so that means there's something going on related to this payment about the mood, the feeling, what is the feeling? Does it some kind of feeling of being inspired, feeling uplifted, some kind of deep dreams and moods are going on here. All right, now we go to midpoints. And what we see is, let me see if I can zoom this in a little bit. There we go, a little bit bigger. We look at the ascendant, the midheaven and the vertex, and we look at them in midpoint structures as well. Do you see the ascendant or the vertex or the MC involved in any midpoint structures? If the orb is tiny, that's telling us what's happening. And what you see is Mercury's conjunct the Sun ascendant midpoint. 7 minutes. Oh my God. That means a few seconds earlier, this was probably exact. I don't even need to do the time adjust. You can do it if you want to verify. And Mercury's at Uranus vertex. 13 minutes. So there are things that are defining this instant. What does it tell us? We're already getting an answer. We're already getting an answer. What's going on? Mercury's at Sun ascendant. OMG. Communication now, Sun ascendant, connecting, reaching out. A communication is happening right now. The realtor is talking to the seller, the money is, or something is happening to make this happen. Now the client's question is, will I get the money? Is Mercury at Sun ascendant about money? No, it's about communication. So it's saying that communication's happening right now. It's happening. And Mercury's at Uranus vertex, it's happening fast. Communication's happening fast. Uranus in the instant, vertex are people that are there like colleagues, co-workers, people helping each other. And this is a situation of people working together. Realtors, whoever, attorney who processes the property settlement. And what it's telling us is they're all communicating and making it happen. Now, it doesn't say anything about money, but it says the communications right now. It's all happening. Interesting. This is what I mean about using vibrational astrology. It's telling you the energy, the activity that's there related to your question. You want to know about the money, but you want the money only in order to buy the property. The buying the property involves communication because there are realtors. There's a buying realtor, a selling realtor. The seller has to communicate with their realtor, the buyer with their realtor, the realtors talk to each other. There's an attorney who's going to process the settlement. So when you talk to the client, you find out that there are realtors involved, that there's a lot of distance communication going on. Okay, the communication's happening. Still doesn't tell me whether he's going to get the money, but things are happening. So a vertex is at Mars node. 1 minute. The north node, Rahu, is where things come together. It's a meeting ground. So vertex at Mars node, so people are getting together. Maybe the seller is talking to their realtor. Maybe the attorney who releases this payment settlement, he's talking to. Things are happening. They're getting it done. They're doing the work's happening right now. All this very exact. So we have our answer that it's all happening right now. Okay. So, but it doesn't say anything about the money. It says communications all coming together right as we speak. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint. Mercury at Sun ascendant and Mercury Uranus vertex, which is a strong isotrap. Let me show that to you. Mercury's at Sun ascendant, Uranus vertex. Whenever a planet makes two midpoint structures, it's huge. And in Horary, when we have the time, within seconds, we're using these cusps. Now, if somebody asks a question and you don't know the exact moment they ask a question, you really can't do the Horary. Horary requires an extremely exact time. It just does. So if somebody says, well, I asked the question sometime yesterday, no. It's got to happen in the moment to see these things that are going to happen. That are happening right at that instant. Okay, so we get a very clear answer with this huge thing, except clear answer about communication, but where's the money? The client's saying, show me the money. It's not, money would be like Venus, Jupiter, you know, some kind of beautiful, rich thing. We're not seeing that. Vertex and more people are working at it, but I'm not seeing the money. Okay, and that's why realizing that the client assumed he needed the money. Well, anyway, they're communicating and they're getting it together. Okay, now we look at harmonic patterns listing number 9 to learn more about the midpoint structures. This is a fundamental part of vibrational astrology, where we go to listing harmonic patterns listing number 9 in this particular software. It's happens to be Series 4.0 software, and it takes a little while to calculate. And then we see things like, let's see where we are here. We see these different vibrations going on. Mercury at Sun ascendant. Let's highlight this. And it's telling us that these vibrations are happening, and these are the orbs. And we're seeing an 8 times 6, etc. Okay, let me go back to my notes. Okay, right, there it is. Mercury at Sun ascendant is an 8 times 6 vibe. Okay, that just means it's a fundamentally an important vibe. The Mercury Sun ascendant is an 8 times 6. That means next thing we're going to do is look at 8 vibe. We're probably going to see these in sextiles. So we're ready to go to 8 vibe, and the Mercury Sun ascendant is being highlighted as fundamental. So when we go to the 8 vibe chart, we see the ascendant at 10 Cancer, Mercury at 8.5 Taurus, and the Sun at 9 Pisces. They're all within 1.5 degrees. Sun, Mercury, and ascendant, sextile, trine, all within 1.5 degrees. That Sun, Mercury, ascendant that was conspicuous in the natal chart pops out even more in the 8 vibration. So the communication is happening. It's still not answering the question, but the good news is I can tell the client, relax, they're taking care of everything. You will find out very soon. So you don't have to push, you don't have to worry. By tomorrow, things are happening. They're figuring it out. Maybe you're not going to get the money, I don't know, but you're going to find out very soon, very clearly. And the communication is so good, so clear, so conspicuous. People are really on top of this. You're going to get your answer very quickly. Guardedly optimistic, it's going to be positive, although I'm not seeing the money. But in any case, your answer's coming very soon. So no worries. People are working on it. You don't have to do anything. So to conclude, there is a fast and clear communication that's happening. Does the client get the money? That's not clear. But the quick and clear communication appears to be bringing a desired result, at least some clarity. And this horary is easier than many because the answer is so simple and straightforward. That Mercury Sun ascendant, nearly exact, sextiles in the 8 vibration. So the answer to the question appears to be probably you're going to be able to purchase the house. Everybody's responding quickly. Everything's being put into motion. We do not see the Venus, Jupiter, or similar things to give the results, so it's not entirely clear, but you're going to get your answer. And everybody's working on it, and they're connecting very fast. So when we look at the that 8 vibe chart a little bit more, we see that the vertex is with Mercury and Uranus. We allow, 16 degree orbs. For something like this, we really want to be within about 8 degrees. They're within 5 degrees. So that vertex Mercury-Uranus thing that's going on, very, very strong. It's happening really fast. the communication about this whole issue is happening extremely fast. So again, I'm not sure what the final result is, but somehow this clear communication appears to bring a clear and definitive result that is satisfying. I don't know how you can get a satisfying result since it's not talking about money, but some kind of clear communication is happening. Okay. We can look at some other things. Let's look at that 8-5 chart a little bit more. We see that huge Moon, Saturn, Neptune. Now, is that within 15 minutes? We go to the time adjust. I just go to the time adjust. Let's move it, say, 5 minutes forward. And now I see the Moon, Saturn nearly exact. Another 5 minutes. And the Moon is still approaching. So if I go 15 minutes, now the Moon is past Saturn. Saturn's at late 17. Moon is past it at 18. So within 15 minutes, the Moon, Saturn's exact. The whole thing is closely connected. What does this tell us? The Moon, Saturn does not sound good if you're used to thinking of Saturn as a malefic. Now this is really important. Saturn is not a malefic. Saturn is going to define things. It's going to bring it to a decision. It's going to bring a decision based on what's really important, a serious, important decision on what really matters. The Moon is the past. A decision is made about the past. Something is finalized. There usually is a separation. It's like the party is over and things get serious. So this could indicate that he doesn't get the house. Or it might indicate that the decision is made and a commitment is made. So it ends up that this house is not just an investment, not just a Venus-Jupiter thing. There's some kind of commitment, some kind of change in the lifestyle that's happening. There's a seriousness to it. It's not clear to me whether he's getting the money or not, but something's happening. Something's getting finalized. Very soon, by tomorrow, things are getting finalized. A decision is made. So they're working it out and they're going to come to a decision. Now, let's get back here. Clarity about the past. Decisions made on what feels real and integrity. Resolution about past events. So it looks like this purchase of the property has to do with some kind of long history. There's going to be closure is reached since it's exact in the future. Now that's another thing, that when the aspect is exact in the future means it's coming up very soon. If it happened in the recent past, it means it's already decided and you're just realizing it. So this means there's going to be closure, and this purchase of the property is ending something and bringing a finality. I still don't know if he's getting the money, but what I do know is the client can chill out because all this is going to be decided very, very soon. Very definitive. Saturn is, that's it, man. You're going to sign on the dot. You're getting it or you're not getting it. I don't know which one it is. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes the horary doesn't know. It can be so delicate. But the communication is happening and a determination will be made. It's like sometimes there's a racehorse and the one wins by half a second. The energetic analysis may not know. It's going to be probably a close call, but something it's going to be settled very, very soon and decided. And that's really what the client needs to know, because the client will find out very, very shortly where this is. Everybody's communicating or taking care of it. It's going to come to a decision, and it may be that you're not getting it. Maybe that you will get, I don't know, but it's coming. It's going to be finalized. And there's some kind of history to this, and the client confirms, no, this is not just an investment to make more money. There's there's some personal involvement and history behind it. Okay, 64 vibe, let's look at that quickly. We already have our answer, by the way. I didn't bring up the 64. I didn't even bring them up because I wasn't sure I was going to even talk about them when I was preparing, because we already have our answer. But if we're curious, we can look at the 64 vibe. And when we get up to 64 and 256, we look at the planets because they're moving so fast. We don't use the houses. They're moving too fast. They're going in and out of orb within seconds. So now we look at the planets and we see a Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Mercury. We see Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, Moon spreading, a Sun-Moon opposition. And let's see what I put in my notes about this. The Sun, Mercury, Jupiter. So let's see. The Sun, Jupiter, Mercury, this opposition in 2 sextiles. If I go to time adjust and I move it 5 minutes backwards, now the Sun, Jupiter is exact. I move another 5 minutes, so now I'm 10 minutes earlier. I'll go another 5 minutes. I am now 15 minutes earlier. And the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter is, the Sun-Jupiter sextile was exact during that time period. Let me show you. The Sun is at 12. It's past Jupiter. When I go earlier by 5 minutes, go earlier 5 minutes, now the Sun sextile Jupiter is has already happened. The Sun is before, it's 11 degrees, 47 minutes, Jupiter 57 minutes, almost exact, it already happened. Within the past 5 minutes, the Sun Jupiter was already exact. Now the Moon has come in, but the Moon is moving so fast, the Moon becomes exact. So there's a Sun, Moon, Jupiter 5 minutes earlier. That Sun, Moon, Jupiter thing was really exact. So there's a big Sun, Moon, Jupiter. That tells me the underlying motivation behind all of this. Not the immediate reason for buying the house, but buying the property. Why is this client even thinking about buying property at all? Because it represents an expansion, a bigger world and a balance, a Sun, Moon. So there's some feeling of growth and expansion, larger vistas involved, being able to participate in a larger world. That's how the client ever got interested in this idea at all. Okay, let's go back to the PowerPoint. The motivation is to meet a larger goals and visions, to advance and move forward with one's life, do things properly within the existing social, political, and philosophical systems. So the Mercury's involved as well with this. And the 256 and 1024 using the deepest vibrations, and we see that very, very internal to the person is a Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Saturn. So let's look at that. Let's look at the 256, and we see Sun trine Jupiter. Let's look at the 1024. In the 1024 vibration, we see a huge pattern: Sun, Saturn, Mercury, Jupiter. So here's what's going on. The client wants to organize their life. They want to get their life really together. Jupiter, Saturn, organized with the Sun. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn. Sun, Jupiter, Saturn means I don't want things to be so scattered. I need to get it together. And Moon is involved then. So it's like, let's get my life together. That's what's really going on. The 64 vibe doesn't have Saturn as involved. It's more the Sun, Jupiter with Mercury and the Moon. So the Moon is involved in both 64 and 1024. We see Sun, in 64 we see Sun, Moon, Mercury, Jupiter. In 1024 we see Sun, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter. Saturn takes the place of Jupiter. What this means is that the client wants to get their life organized. They see this property and they go, oh, here's my opportunity. We can go big. So I want to get the property. That's the underlying motivation to the whole thing. But that the underlying motivation in this case is not so important. Sometimes when you're talking about relationships, personal relationships, you want to know what the underlying motivation is. Here, that was nice to know, but I got my answer. The client will find out what will happen very, very shortly, and there will be a decision made. And what happened was that, this is interesting. What happened is the client didn't need the money. What happened was he told his realtor, he had some unsigned papers and some information about what was going on, and his realtor submitted it to the seller's realtor, who submitted to the seller, and the seller said, fine, he's going to have the money. We don't need to see it in the bank. Our client thought that he had to have the money in the bank. That's what he was assuming. You don't buy something without money. They want to know. But it ended up that the seller said, fine, it's obvious he's going to have the money very soon, because he did send in some papers that were not the final form and legally signed, but it showed the progress of what was happening, and that was fine with the sellers. He got the property. How? Without the money in the bank. He got it through the communication that was going on and happening as he was asking the question, and it was going on the next day, and it was a few days later, on Friday, so it actually took a few more days, when all of a sudden the realtor said, the sellers agreed, you got it. You made an offer, they took it. He was like, what? Wait a minute. I thought we were waiting to get this other stuff done. The communication happened, it was finalized, there it was. So, this is what we're doing with vibrational astrology, trying to sort out how we can use it and ways that we address these kind of questions. So there's one example, and I've done dozens and dozens. I don't even want to think about how many I've done, trying to just get a feeling, because questions come up, and we try to apply it. Now, I don't know if horary will ever be as rigorously confirmed like our work on bipolar disorder. What I really want to do next is accident research. I've already started it. I'm so excited. These are definitive, solid things where we can show that this stuff is real. This is real stuff. But, horary questions come up and you want answers. And so, this isn't as solid as like when we do the bipolar disorder and we have statistical significance and all this stuff. And I think we're going to get the same with the accident research. I'm so excited. It's like really working. I did this research many years ago, made some videos about it, picking up with where we left off. Wow. So there are parts of astrology where we can get really solid, definitive results. High confidence. This will go into the mainstream academia at some point. And then there are other areas like horary, which are more difficult to confirm, but they're still important areas, and we like to explore them. Okay, well, that's it, my friends. If you are a member, thank you so much, your support. And by the way, I'm making this video, what is today, day after Christmas. Merry Christmas, December 26th, 2023. And I'm going to bring out, by tomorrow, announce that I have a new benefit. All of you have been members, you've been donating out of the kindness of your heart, and I appreciate that. But I've got some good stuff for you. You're going to get something for your membership. I'll be announcing that. It'll be a monthly meeting. I'll have a monthly meeting, 1 hour. If you're at the angel level, it'll be 2 hours. Anyway, there's going to be benefits to members. I'm going to announce that in a separate video. I'm really excited about releasing that. And if you're not a member, that's, you click on the join button at the YouTube page. You can at least be a subscriber. It doesn't cost anything. It really helps promote the channel. Thank you so much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.